What's going on, everybody? I thought I'd show you a little bit of my driving here in Texas, Tool, Texas. Talk to you a little bit as I'm driving, I guess. You know, after the accident I had, driving's a hard thing for me sometimes. During the day, it's not as bad sometimes. Although, you know those mirages we see in the road, there's like a wet spot or something like that, or the black spots you see in the road sometimes, or a shadow. When you go through an accident, to what I did, where a young man lost his life, a young man that decided to dress all in black, lay in the road because he decided his life wasn't worth living anymore. When you decide, when you're the person that's in behind the wheel that doesn't see him and runs him over and he dies, and you watch him take his last breath, driving takes on a whole different thing for you. Now, it's been 5 years since that accident. And it's not as bad as it used to be, but those spots we were talking about, the black spots, shadows, mirages that look like water, in my mind, sometimes they become bodies in the road. And I remember when I first started driving again, my brakes got tested very well because I would slam on the brakes several times. I'd freak out. I'd pull to the side of the road, cry myself, gather up the strength and courage to keep driving. At night, as you can imagine, it's a lot worse. At night, especially whenever it's roads that I've never been on before. You know, I try to help others with different things to let them understand that life could be a whole lot worse than it is now for us. Isn't that one of those things we all say? You hear so many people say, life could be a lot worse. People have it worse off. Some people have it worse off than you do. And that's, maybe it helps a little bit, but it really doesn't help that much. It doesn't take away the pain that we have in our lives. It doesn't take the PTSD away. It doesn't take the feelings away. It's still there. Just, we're not alone with other people going through it too. But just because other people are going through it too does not make it any better for us. Matter of fact, sometimes I think when we find out that other people are going through the same thing, we think, well, great. Then there's no end to it. Everybody's going through it. Maybe sometimes we go, you know what? I don't know. I mean, every one of us have different thoughts in our head, different triggers, different things that make us feel and do and say different stuff. What might trigger one person into feeling a certain way won't even faze another person. You know, last night I was live on TikTok, going through and asking people what they were thankful for and stuff like that. And then I would go through and I would tell people how much they mean to me and how much I love them and how much they're thought of and cared for. Now let me back up just a little bit. See, before I had started doing that, the day before, actually, the night before, on a live that I wasn't on, a group of friends that I was part of, group kind of split in half because of some things that were going on. And I understand the frustration on both sides of the fence. I do. The only way I can actually be able to help them at all is if they can would listen and humble their hearts enough to sit down together and all of us talk. But that's easier said than done sometimes. But anyway, last night I was live doing the thing. There was comments down in the comments of people saying, "Hey, we love you too, Scott. We thank you. You're a good friend," things like that. It was nothing mean or whatever, but there was another friend of mine up there that was part of that group. And they felt like those comments were a jab at them. And I get that. I get where they think that. I do. I hope and pray that that's not why the comments popped up. And I honestly don't think it was because of that. But it doesn't matter at this point really what I think on that. My friends, they thought one way because of the things they felt. I don't blame them for feeling the way they do, you know. I mean, I understand. I don't think that the other friends were really meaning it that way, but you know, for me, here's how I look at it. You know, I've seen a lot of groups split up. And for that group of people now, like I said, when they came under the live in the comments, they never said anything rude or mean or anything about the night before or whatever. They've sat in my life and they listened. Whether they listen because they respect me and they like the things I say, or whether they were listening to see if their name was called or was mentioned the night before, I don't know. They were there. To me, that showed love and care. Whether it was for me or whether it was for them or whether it was for us. These friends that I'm talking about, they loved each other. They cared for each other very much. They would do just about anything for each other. I know they would because I've seen it. And what had happened, in my opinion, was one of the friends in the group was trying to do something with their life, was trying to do something that made them happy, that they enjoyed doing, that they had lifted the spirits, that made them feel better about themselves. It was a way for them to express themselves. And I understand it. I can relate to that. Wanting people to listen to me, wanting people to understand, wanting people to relate to me so that I did not feel alone. But sometimes we want that so bad that when we feel like the friends that are closest to us aren't giving us this important encouragement that we want, that we feel like we deserve, that we need, that if they really loved and cared for us, they'd give us. We let it get so much into us that it frustrates us and it makes us sad. And we get down and we think, well, nobody cares, you know. There's nothing wrong with those feelings. We all have them. We also have to realize the other side of the fence. We all have different places we live, different states. And I don't know what goes on in every single person's life. I mean, I could assume a lot of different things about what people do every day. But then that's just assuming. In my opinion, in my view, on the outside looking in, I saw this. I saw that this group of people was always together when they could be. They were on live together, laughing, joking around, things like that. I seen that things were handled a little bit wrong, and I think they know this as far as the way they were able to communicate with each other. And sometimes we have that hard time communicating with each other because of the frustration that's in our lives, the aggravation we're going through. So Sometimes when we get so hardship on wanting the support and encouragement that we think we're not getting, we get so frustrated and mad that it ends up turning people away from us. I know this because it's happened to me. I've seen it happen to other people. We gotta humble ourselves. See, I've looked and I've talked to everyone in that group, and I understand the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions of why they are doing and saying the things they're doing. I don't know how to fix it unless they sit and listen to me, unless they sit and talk to me, unless they listen and open up and be honest with me and themselves. I do not know how to fix it. Not that it's my job to fix it. I'm not saying it is. But I want to because I love them. I love them so much. I don't even know some of them all that well, but I love them. I love them because God loves them. If God loves them, that means there's something special about each and every one of us. And I want to help them to see that. I want them to help them to see that they are capable of so much. I want to help them get out of the depressed states that we get into. I want to help them as much as they'll let me help them. It breaks my heart that my family that I became part of is split in half. I don't know how to deal with that always. I don't know how to make things right. Especially since I've seen it so many times where for a while after the split, there's emotions that are high and people think these things and they're looking for reasons to be mad. We do that because we're not ready to let go. We continue to try to find out what they're saying about us because we don't want to let go. And it's easier just to sit and listen and get mad than it is to sit and talk, make things right. You know, these things we go through like this, if we can pull our big pulley pants up and talk with each other, it strengthens our relationships, our friendships. Because we understand at that point, we hit a wall. We're going, okay, we can't go past that one. Now we know that's a touchy thing. We don't need to talk about that because we love and respect them. We won't do that. I just want to be able to bring peace and love and understanding to every friend I have. But some days when things happen like they did last night, my fleshly part of me, the fleshly body just wants to retreat. It wants to hide. It wants to give up. But the spiritual side of me will not let me give up. That devil will talk in my head and say, oh, well, you're just too nice. Oh, you're too afraid. You just want people to like you. Things like, of course we want people to like me, but that's not the whole thing. I'll tell people, but they got to give me a chance. And when you have friends, in person, you can do that. You live next door to somebody in the same town. All you have to do is hit one button to hang up and never be out of your life completely. It's hard. I just hope that the patterns don't continue in our lives like that. That we provide to do the hard thing and make it right, instead of having a life of friends that you don't talk to anymore. Gosh, no wonder we feel alone. No wonder we feel depressed. Willing to do what it takes to keep them in our lives. Now, sometimes it's not our fault. Sometimes it's the other side of the fence. They're the ones that blocked us. They're the ones that told us they completely rid us out of their lives. All we can do there is pray, leave the door open. And I tell you from experience that if you do that, they may not all come back. But I have some that didn't. You know, when I first got on here, that group that split up, the original group I was in, I don't talk to all of them again, but they're coming back and they're talking to me and they check up on me and stuff. We're able to joke around a little bit. Yeah, the relationship's not the same as it was. And then I have one that I knew in person. I lived with us. We was trying to help out. Had a falling out and they moved out and didn't talk to them for a while. We got back in contact. I'm really glad to hear from you. Life because of you. It made a difference. And that's when I started realizing and thinking, you know, yeah, it sucks when people leave our lives, but I wonder how many people's lives out there I really did touch and changed their lives for the better. Because I know there are people out there that have changed my life for the better. I try to let them know that as much as I can. I'm sure sometimes I think people don't come to my lives and stuff because they're like, I can only hear him talk and say how much he loves me and appreciates me so many times. And to those people, I'm going, wow, I'm so glad that you have so many people telling you care, that they love you and you're good, and yada, 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 because there's so many people that don't have that. I think most of us, a lot of fact, even love to hear. But then there's a part, I guess, I'm sure, where people are like, you know what, I don't believe it. It's hard to listen to it because I don't believe it myself. I don't believe that I'm that good. Or I don't believe that someone can love me so much. But to those people, I'm just like, I understand, I can relate, but don't close your heart off forever. I'm try to read this here real quick, and I'm gonna have to end here. Open. I'll just do this so I can see it later. I hate my eyesight. I'll just take a picture and blow it up so I can see it later. Let's see what it says. Is there any more comments on there? Let's see. Okay.